When I first played My Time at Portia, I was in a very specific state of mind. I had just come out of my time at Sandrock, and if you've ever played Sandrock, you already know what that means. I was obsessed. Also, emotionally attached and slightly unwell, because Sandrock had changed my brain chemistry and suddenly I didn't know what to do with my life. Because nothing felt like it could fill that space, you know? So I did the only logical thing. I went backwards. I jumped straight into Portia without having played it before, and yes, I noticed immediately that it came first. The graphics are rougher, the story is simpler, but the comedy, the writing, the mechanics, and the gameplay loop? Oh lord, just how I wanted. And underneath all that, you can feel the love, you can feel the care, you can feel how much heart Pathia poured into this world, and more importantly, you can clearly see the blueprint. Everything that works so beautifully in Sandrock started right here in Portia. So, as we head into 2026, the release year of My Time at Evershine, it's worth asking. Is My Time at Portia still worth playing today? And what does it tell us about where this series came from and where it's going next? Okay, a few months ago I went back to Portia again, this time as a warm-up for Evershine because I'm climbing my walls in anticipation, and okay, something interesting happens. Without Sandrock so fresh in my mind, without constantly comparing systems and scope, I enjoyed Portia more than ever. Suddenly, I wasn't grieving what it wasn't, I was appreciating what it is. Yes, the game is 8 years old, it's not new, but it has aged with surprising grace, so let's talk about it. The setting of the My Time universe takes place in a post-apocalyptic world about 300 years after a technological disaster where machines, robots, and AI collectively decided that, yeah, humans are not the vibe anymore and the human race was almost wiped out. What's left is a society that survives by salvaging the past while fearing it at the same time. A lot of this old technology was lost, and what remains is heavily controlled and controversial, especially because there's a whole religious faction that believes technology, actually the use of technology, is what caused the calamity in the first place. And Portia starts very differently from Sandrock. Instead of being dropped into a town in crisis, you inherit a workshop from your father who has been, let's say, emotionally and physically unavailable most of your life. So yeah, already we are off to a strong start. You arrive in Portia with nothing, zero reputation, and a house that absolutely needs work. But the townspeople help you, teach you the ropes, support you, and you can feel that the strong sense of community that the series have started right here. And visually, Portia is the complete opposite of Sandrock. Where Sandrock is sand, dust, and emotional trauma, Portia is green until your eyes get tired. Grass, trees, hills, rivers, it's peaceful, it's pretty, it's the kind of place where you think, yeah, I could retire here. In here, you're also a builder, you fix things, craft materials, help the town grow, yada yada, and story-wise, Portia is much calmer than Sandrock. But there are very dramatic moments, yeah, don't be mistaken, there is lore, but most of the time, you're just helping the town expand and thrive. There's no looming apocalypse, no constant pressure, well sometimes, and just steady progress, a few accidents here and there, unhinged characters doing unhinged stuff, lots of boss fights, and a cozy routine. And honestly, that's kind of the point, but don't get it twisted. Even though Portia feels peaceful, the story is not short and it has a few plot twists, so be ready. The main story can easily take 70 to 80 hours or more to finish. Of course, it's shorter and simpler than Sandrock, but still commits. That said, towards the end, the story does start to drag. There's lots of wait until tomorrow to progress that absolutely did not need to exist, especially when you're emotionally ready for the story finale. And I honestly felt that the ending was rushed. But even then, Portia still keeps you hooked. And the sense of community that I mentioned, oh lord, I thrive for it. So let's talk about Portia's people, the lovable ones, the weird ones, and the ones that are aggressively unfortunate looking. Okay, Portia's characters are interesting in a very specific way. The events are not as deep as Sandrock's, but the characters are deep. They are carefully shaped and the comedic tone is as amazing as it is in Sandrock. You can feel how much thought went into each one of them, even if the game doesn't always give them, the same level of narrative complexity. And I will be honest, some characters in Portia live or work so far away that I barely talk to them. Not because I didn't want to, but because I simply forgot they existed, and going all the way there just to talk to them felt like a pain. And that's one of Portia's weaknesses. Some people are kinda spread out, and not everyone naturally crosses your path, but the characters you do interact with, they grow on you. And one thing is that we have some repetitive lines, so you will hear some phrases more times than you would like, especially because here raising friendship takes more time than compared to Sandrock. But the events, they're light, fun, engaging, and sometimes surprisingly emotional, like Ginger, for example. Ginger is the mayor's daughter. She lives with a chronic illness ever since she was young, so her schedule is very specific. She doesn't leave the house during the days because of the sun rays, so she only leaves when it's raining or at the evenings. And during some festivals, she stays at home, but in others you can find her watching from afar under a tree's shadow. And without spoiling anything, her story can get very heavy, but this never stopped her from having a strong willpower and a gentleness to her that melts anyone who crosses her path. And what makes it even more meaningful is that Ginger was inspired by the producer's aunt who passed away from cancer, so she's a tribute, and it shows. Ginger is my favorite character in Portia, and I'm very much not alone in that. She's so loved by the community that both she and her overly protective brother Gust appear in Sandrock after the story finale. And they are confirmed to make a cameo in Star Sand Island, which has made me even more excited for the game's release. But yeah, Portia's characters aren't as layered as Sandrock's, but the intent is already there. The care for diversity, the comedic tone, the effort to give everyone a story, a background, and a strong sense of individuality. I love the emotional grounding, and all of that started right here in Portia. Now listen, we do need to address something. The characters in Portia are not winning any beauty contests. They are rough, like very rough. I mean, they are ugly as hell. And when you look at Sandrock, and especially now with Evershine, the glow up is undeniable. The art style is more refined, the characters look way more mature and way more beautiful, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like the series had a stronger visual identity before. Like, the characters are a very specific kind of ugly, and somehow it worked as a strong identity to the series. Nonetheless, I know everyone's excited for the glow up because I will admit it. I avoided Portia for a long time because of the characters' designs. I was like, oh my god, these characters are so ugly. How will I marry any of them? I don't want to play it. Yeah, I was shallow like that, but I know I know that most of us are like, we take a look at the graphics of a game and we already know if it has the vibe that we want or not. But when I played Portia, oh my god, suddenly choosing who to romance became a problem. A very real problem, because once you get past the visuals, these characters are charming, thoughtful, with great voice acting, and they are so hard not to care about, which makes it the who to marry choice so difficult, because suddenly you go from I don't want to marry any of them, they are so ugly, to I want to marry like all of them. Which brings us to the inevitable next topic and our favorite. Let's talk about love, marriage, and why Portia made this decision so difficult. Romance in My Time at Portia is where the game completely sneaks up on you, because on paper it looks simple, and then suddenly you are emotionally invested, scheduling dates, overthinking dialogue choices, and questioning your entire life plan because a pixel man smiled at you. Portia walked so Sandrock could run, literally. Like the romance system, the mechanics that makes the romance in Sandrock so good, they were birthed here in Portia. We have the dates, the choosing what to do together, the questions that we can ask them, learn about their past, their dreams, their weird little habits, and through the events, small, quiet, very human events, the connection grows. And what really makes Portia's romance so special is how different everyone feels. They have different personality, different goals, different ambitions, and during the romance events, you don't just get closer to them, you help them move forward in life. You support their dreams. It's really sweet. The events are simpler than Sandrock's, but they are warm, sincere, and full of heart, and sometimes even more meaningful than Sandrock's. Like, some characters' arcs can only be completed if you romance them, so all of these characters have a depth and a goal that you can help them achieve. And the characters, they really grow on you. For example, I did not care about Gust at all at first. And then his romance events happened, and suddenly I was screaming at my screen because he does that thing where he pretends he doesn't care about you, and then slowly, very inconveniently, he becomes affectionate. He softens, he opens up, and his voice, oh my god, yeah, I folded so quickly, I was done for. Pathia is evil for this. And it's made in such a simple way that it's so cute. It really has that romance vibe that you want from a game. I love it. This is why Portia's romance works so well, because by the time you're asked to choose, you care a lot about a lot of characters. Not because the system is complex, but because the writing made you attached. And there's another thing that Portia does that I miss desperately. That's rival romances. Yes, they are simple here, but they exist. There are two characters that you can help get married. You can go full wingman mode, and another two who might start dating, and you get a say in whether that should happen or not. So if you're planning on marrying one of them, you can interfere. I did, so there's no regrets. And even if they start dating, you can still marry the other and they will stop seeing each other. But it's cute seeing them like after the events of like, oh, should I pursue this person or not? Like hanging out together and having moments like far away from people by the lake, you know, just together, sitting together by the lake. It's very cute. And I like this. Like Harvest Moon fans, you know exactly why this hurts. I miss the rival romances so much. But okay, let's go back. Portia's romance is emotional, it's sincere, and it's the foundation that Sandrock later perfected. Even now, it's incredibly easy to fall in love, and once the emotional damage is done, you settle into routine, so days turn into weeks, that turn into seasons, that turn into years. The loop that slowly turns Portia from a town you moved into a place that feels like home. So let's talk about the grind and the gameplay loop, because the grind started right here. At its core, My Time at Portia is about the grinds, just like Sandrock. And I will be redundant and repeat what I said in my Sandrock video, but listen, it's the same series. The base workshop system is basically the same, with a few differences that I will point out. In here, you spend a lot of time gathering materials, turning materials into other materials, turning those materials into parts, turning those parts into different parts, and then using all of that to build one single thing that immediately unlocks 5 more things you need to build. On paper, it's horrifying. In practice, I looked up and 40 hours were gone. So the gameplay loop goes like this. You wake up, you check your commissions or your missions, you realize you need materials, you get the materials, you process these materials into other materials, you build more machines to speed your process, you wait, you craft the thing, you turn it in, and then you do it again and again and again and again. And it works. It works because everything feeds into progression. The town improves, your reputation grows, new areas unlock, new materials unlock, your brain gets a little treat every time. And then you start to prepare for the next thing that they might commission of you. Pathia understands dopamine deeply, and your workshop starts small, manageable, cute even, and then suddenly it's full of machines, furnaces, grinders, cutters, and you can even have a literal factory in your yard. But unlike Sandrock, Portia is a little more restrictive early on because materials take longer to process, much longer, which means if you're not careful, progression can feel slow. The secret is to hoard processed materials every time you can. Always be processing something, build more than one machine, and start researching new blueprints at the research center as soon as possible, because the future you will thank you. And another thing that Sandrock did differently than Portia is fuel. In Portia, early on, your machines run on wood, only wood, which means, and I need you to understand this, you will spend an unreasonable amount of time cutting down trees. If you have a lot of machines, you live in the forest, trees see you coming and panic. And when you're not cutting trees, you're mining a lot. Or relics, materials you didn't know you needed until the game suddenly asks you 50 of them. Portia very gently turns you into a full-time worker. But of course, all that grinding has to happen somewhere, so let's talk about mining, combat, and how Portia handles danger a little differently than Sandrock. And one thing that Sandrock has that began on Portia, it's something that permanently rewired my brain. Mining and combat are separate systems. Thank you truly from the bottom of my heart, because listen, when I want to mine, I want peace, I want silence, I want to dig like a mole with zero stress. And when I want to fight, I want to beat the out of monsters on purpose. And Portia looks at this very reasonable human desire and goes, yeah girl, same. Mining happens in the abandoned ruins, so there's no monsters, no jump scares, no combat, no anxiety, just you, your pickaxe, and your commitment to ruining the underground ecosystem. You pay a weekly fee and then you dig to your heart's content. Each ruin has a specific ore, specific relics, specific resources, and at first I was like, okay, but how do I know where the stuff I need is? Because there are no mine nodes, it's just dirt. And then I noticed the floor changes color, and that's when the neurons activated. You see the color you want and you dig like there's no tomorrow. And inside the ruins you get a treasure detector to find relics and rare materials, and a jetpack to move through the holes you absolutely should not have dug, but did anyway. It's smooth, it's satisfying, it's very addictive. But make no mistake, this is a grind-heavy game. You will spend a lot of time mining. A lot. However, later in the game, Portia throws you a bone. You unlock resource delivery systems that send materials straight to your house every morning, and suddenly it's like, oh, thank you, civilization. It doesn't erase the grind, but it makes it manageable. And the combat in Portia lives in its own space too. Story dungeons, hazardous ruins, specific monster-heavy areas on the world map, which I love. Because when I step into these places, my brain switches mode, like, okay, we are here to fight. Now listen, Portia's combat is not harder than Sandrock, but I feel like it was more disrespectful. Enemies hit hard, excuse me sir? I did not consent to losing half my health bar to 3 monsters, You actually have to time your attacks, dodge properly, be strategic, and sometimes grind levels before attempting certain ruins. And you grind levels by doing regular builder activities, not just fighting. We have the skill tree too to help you with every area of your builder life, the social one, the fighting one, and the workshop one. Back to the fighting, there were ruin levels that I avoided on purpose because I thought if I go there right now, I will get so pissed off, You can commission the civil corps to go ruin diving for you and mail you the resources, which means sometimes the smartest strategy is, I don't want to deal with it, you go do it, thank you, I will do something else. And I use this more than I would like to admit. There's no shame here, only efficiency. And what makes Portia's mining and combat system so good is that you choose your experience. You want peaceful grind, you go mining in the ruins. You want focused violence, you go to the hazardous ruins. And both fit into progression without stepping on each other's toes. And that balance is something Patia absolutely nailed. And once you've mined, fought, crafted, and survived the emotional damage, there's still one huge part of Portia left to talk about, the life part. Festivals, daily routines, and that cozy slower rhythm that makes Portia feels like home. Portia starts small. You arrive in this unfamiliar town with a busted workshop, no reputation, and absolutely no idea where anything is, and then little by little the world opens. New areas unlock as the story progresses, new resources, new ruins, new monsters, new characters, new vibes. The map at Portia is smaller than Sandrock's, but don't let that fool you. It's still big, and when you're early in the game, walking everywhere, it feels even more huge. Even with the fast travels, the distances add up. Which brings me to an extremely important point. A mount in Portia is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And honestly, I like Portia's mounts more than Sandrock's. Sandrock's horses are gorgeous, stunning, majestic, with smooth butts. They're so cute. But they can be a little cranky. Turning feels stiff sometimes, mounting and dismounting takes a second longer than my ADHD brain would like, but in Portia, the horse controls are smoother, it feels faster, and it feels like it flows better. Once I bought my horse, I was never apart from her again. That was my child. And with the horse, exploring feels smoother. The world is beautiful with its landscapes and ruins from the past, mixing past and present together. But I will be honest, not every area has a purpose. Some places are just there, and there are some wide areas that have absolutely no purpose for me. This is something that Sandrock definitely improved on, but I still feel like some areas have no purpose, like you can go explore. But even so, back to Portia. Portia still feels nice because it's not always about efficiency. Sometimes it's just about, riding your horse, watching the sunset, getting distracted, and forgetting why you left the house in the first place. It's very immersive and very real. Portia absolutely nails the cozy routine. Your days naturally fall into a rhythm. You wake up, check commissions, tend your machines, hoard materials like a dragon, talk to townspeople, maybe mine, maybe fight, maybe fish, and suddenly it's 2 a.m. and you didn't feel rushed. That's the big difference. Portia feels slower than Sandrock, but you progress the days faster, and you can also change the day length in the settings. So Portia, it's not worse. It just feels gentler. The story is simpler, so the gameplay feels more relaxed. You're not constantly in crisis mode, you're just living. For me, this works very well for the first few hours, like the first 70 hours. But then my brain starts wanting, more crisis. I need that dynamic feeling of having stuff to do and having a storyline to complete. So in this aspect, Sandrock hooks me longer than Portia, for example. But Portia has such a cozy vibe that the first 70 hours just go by and you don't even notice it. At least it was like this for me. And one thing I love about Portia and Sandrock too is how the festivals are handled. They don't have the same festivals that Stardew has and recent games copy. No, actually the festivals in Portia and Sandrock exist because of culture. Each festival has lore, history, meaning tied to the town it takes place in, so they feel like celebrations that people of that town would actually have. And because of that, they're fun, they're different, there's some minigames tied to it, so I really like how creative Pathia got into making their games. Like I said in my Sandrock video, is the change we needed for a game in the cozy life sim genre, And Portia isn't trying to overwhelm you, it's not trying to be epic every second, it's trying to be comfortable. It gives you space to breathe, explore, bond with the characters, build your life at your own pace, and that's why, even years later, for me, it still works. So let's talk about my final verdict. Is My Time at Portia worth it in 2026? Okay, this game is so good on so many levels, not just systems and mechanics, not just as a cozy life sim, but because of how much heart it has. You can feel it everywhere, in the writing, in the characters, in the way the systems talk to each other, and here's the thing. Sandrock is as good as it is because Portia paved the way. Everything that shines in Sandrock was born here in Portia. Not as a test, not as a rough draft. Portia doesn't feel like a prototype, it feels like a complete, thoughtfully made game. And that's why it still holds up. Portia isn't just a game, it's an experience. Playing Portia doesn't feel like checking off mechanics. It feels like building a life from nothing and slowly becoming part of a community. You don't just play it, you live in it. Does it feel old? Yes, a little. If you play Portia after Sandrock, you will notice how it has simpler events, rougher edges, and a less epic storytelling. But that doesn't make it worse, it just makes it older. And honestly, that's okay, because even with those limitations, Portia still manages to be better than a lot of games released recently. The content is massive. This is a game that can keep you entertained for hours, weeks, months. It does it without burning you out. The My Time series is something special. Portia started it, Sandrock perfected it, and now Evershine is next, and we already know it's bolder. We are not a builder anymore, so I'm really excited to check the new systems and mechanics. I have the alpha key, but I wanted to play Portia and Sandrock before going into it, so yeah. I'm ready. I'm so ready. And yeah, Pathia for me is like an incredible studio, so my expectations for Evershine are very high, like dangerously high. But if the evolution from Portia to Sandrock taught us anything, is that Pathia learns. They listen and they care. So is My Time at Portia worth it in 2026? Absolutely, 100%, no hesitation. If this kind of game is your cup of tea, Portia is still worth your time, now in 2026, and honestly, probably for a long time still. Have you ever played Portia? If you didn't, why? Was it because of the ugly characters like me? I know it happens, I know, it's okay, I won't judge. This is not a space for judgment, okay? This is a safe space, okay. I will stop my ramble for now. I have like some My Time series lore videos that I'm working on, so yeah, this will keep me busy for a while. But I also want to make some Star Sand Island content, so yeah, I don't know what to do in my life. So yeah, wish me luck. Now go forth, stay hydrated, and remember, life is short. Do not play My Time at Portia, because even if it's ugly, it's beautiful. In some way it works, okay? It works. See you in the next harvest. Bye bye.